first of all, thank you so much for having me.
You're
I'm
welcome.
looking forward to talking with you guys here about my business model here for the next 10 minutes or so, which is called Amazon Wholesale. So this might be news to some of you, so I've included a little bit of background, and I'm going to give background on myself, background on the model, how it works, what it looks like, what it takes to be successful. So I'm going to share my screen here and see if we can get a slideshow going. All right, so does this look good, Nick? I think we should be good here. All right, so guys, this is going to be about a 10-minute presentation on how to build a 7-figure Amazon business selling other people's products. Okay, so most of you watching this webinar, you're probably on the private label side where you've either created your own brand or you're interested in creating your own brand, or maybe you manage a brand on behalf of somebody else. Well, my business model is an entirely different concept. Instead of creating our own brands from scratch, we focus on finding brands with existing demand and essentially tapping into that built-in demand, right? We're a reseller, we're a retailer of these products, and that's kind of how our business operates. So to get into the presentation, so I'll do a quick introduction. I've been selling on Amazon myself for just over 6.5 years now, actually coming up on 7 years. I think May 22nd will be 7 years to the day that I've been selling on Amazon. I started right after college graduation. So I graduated in May of 2017, and 2 days later, I started selling on Amazon. I started with books and arbitrage so when I say books, I started by like literally going around to thrift stores in my town, buying used textbooks, usually nonfiction books, for 50 cents, $1, $2, and then turning around and flipping them on Amazon for 15, 25. Some of these textbooks can go for 50 or even 100 or more dollars. So the ROI on that model is really strong. It's a great way to start if you don't have a lot of capital to start out. Then I transitioned into arbitrage, which is where you buy products from other retailers like Walmart or a Target, somebody like that, and then turn around and flip those on Amazon. I've been full-time with my current business model, which is wholesale, since 2019. And really since the beginning of last year, January 2023, I dove headfirst into content creation, mainly on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, helping other people scale their business, putting out a lot of content about my business model and what I've done to be successful. So I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of like the wholesale 101, right? What is it and how does it work? So from a high level, wholesale is buying brand name products either directly from the manufacturer or from an authorized distributor at a wholesale price, and then turning around and selling it on Amazon at a retail price, right? So sounds like retail. That's exactly what it is. Our business model is no different from that of a Target or a Walmart or the mom and pop store on the corner. The only difference is our sales channel is Amazon. And as far as my business is concerned, we're 100% FBA. So we don't do any FBM. We have in the past, but just for scalability purposes and just really efficiency, we choose to be 100% FBA. So we take products like this Gillette razor, for example. We're going to buy it from an authorized distributor for, say, $10, and then we're going to turn around and sell it on Amazon for, $22, $25, those kind of ranges as far as the buy price and the sale price. Now, as far as how it works, I've included this picture here of Will Smith on the phone. You might recognize this from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. But as far as how it works it's essentially a B2B sales business, right? You are on the phone, especially in the early days, you're on the phone calling suppliers, calling brands, calling manufacturers, trying to get a foot in the door with some of these suppliers to essentially start buying products at wholesale and then turn around and selling them at retail. And a lot of you listening to this might be thinking, well, it can't be that difficult, right? Especially if I'm calling these suppliers as the customer, I'm calling them looking to spend money with them. Why wouldn't they all want to work with me, right? Why wouldn't it be easy to just find these products and buy them at wholesale? And that's the $1,000,000 question. So when it comes to, especially when you're contacting these brands directly, which I have a slide on here in a second, I'll go into more detail. Brands want you to bring more value than just simply placing a purchase order, right? There's always somebody that can outspend you. And when it comes to buying from distributors, a lot of distributors, they've got their customer base that they already work with. more or less these products sell themselves, right? So they don't really need to onboard new customers to a big degree. So you kind of have to prove to these brands and prove to these distributors why it is that they should sell to you, right? Basically, you need to prove to them why they should take your money, which proves harder than you would think. So let's go into the two options for really scaling a wholesale business on Amazon. So you've got the brand direct route, which, like I said, is when you just buy directly from the manufacturer, which is an entirely separate skill set and required resources from that of option number two, which is buying through distribution. All right, so we'll dig into each of those business models here in a little more detail in a second. And also a common question that I get is, well, can I do both? Why should I do one versus the other? The answer is you can absolutely do both. My business does both. We work directly with some manufacturers. We work through some distributors as well. And at the end of the day, it takes a separate skill set. I apologize. My dog is he's a puppy and I'm taking to the vet here shortly. All right. So when talking about the brand direct business model, right? So when I say brand direct, I'm referring to purchasing directly from the manufacturer. And you see my first bullet here is it's the quote unquote holy grail of wholesale. Now, the reason that is because when you're buying directly from the manufacturer, there is a lot less headache to deal with. Okay. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So if I'm buying directly from the manufacturer, then the chances of me running into account health issues, for example, for selling that brand are very slim because I'm buying from the manufacturer. They know who I am. I'm authorized. They know I'm selling it on Amazon. So the chances of them, for example, issuing an IP complaint against my business or an inauthentic claim against my business are very low because I have a relationship with the manufacturer, right? There's no reason for them to do that. Another reason why it is oftentimes considered the holy grail of wholesale is because the margins can be a lot higher, right? When you're buying directly from the manufacturer, as opposed to having to go, 2 or 3 rungs down the supply chain, you can get better pricing. Now, there are obviously going to be distributors out there, wholesalers out there that are buying such larger quantities than you are as the retailer, that sometimes going through a distributor or a wholesaler will be a lower cost per unit. But generally, in my experience, from the experience of others out there that are doing this business model as well, buying directly from the manufacturer tends to be higher margin. And also, another huge benefit is the relationship that you create with the manufacturer. I've been in this situation many times where let's say we're buying a particular brand from a distributor and we don't have a direct relationship with the manufacturer. And then one day the manufacturer decides, well, hey, we're going to start selling on Amazon ourselves, or we're going to kick off 90% of our Amazon sellers on our listings because we want to choose maybe our top 3 or 4. And because I don't have a relationship with the manufacturer, if I'm buying through a distributor, I have no recourse, right? I have no way of almost pleading my case to have them allow me to continue selling their product. So if that one brand is a large portion of my business, it could go, it could get shut out in the course of a day or a week in those situations. Now, I went into the reasons a couple of minutes ago why it's less risk, but the main reason why it's lower risk is because you've got that direct relationship with the manufacturer. Account health issues are a much smaller concern versus buying from a distributor or buying from a wholesaler, and generally just less risky model all around. Now, a huge con to the brand direct model, which you could also look at as a pro, kind of depending on how you look at it, is the sales cycle, right? This is to really land a solid brand direct wholesale account where you're more of a partner, you're not just a reseller with these people. It takes months. And in my experience, it can take years. So my number one brand direct account, which we're one of, I believe, 12 authorized retailers on Amazon, took me 3.5 years of quarterly follow-up to land. I first reached out to this brand when I started my wholesale business, started wholesale in 2019, and we didn't close that account until halfway through 2022, actually the end of 2022. It was right around Thanksgiving of 2022. So now that brand accounts for multiple 5 figures per month in gross profits from one relationship where all I have to do is buy and sell. This is somewhere in the range of a $50 to $100 million per year brand. And they've got 12 authorized sellers on Amazon. So you can imagine how valuable that relationship is. But like I said, it took years of follow-up to land. All the best accounts, whether they're brands, whether they're distributors, are going to take a very long time for you to prove to them why they should work with you, right? Very similar to any other sales business where it's a longer sales cycle. You've got to earn their trust before they work with you. Now, when it comes to which brands we target and the brands that we go after to try to open an account directly with the manufacturer, I'm not here targeting Nike, right? It's insane to think that Nike's going to give little old me a wholesale account, right? So I don't target the Nikes of the world. I don't target the Procter and Gambles of the world. I don't target the Unilevers of the world. The type of brands that I do target are very small to mid niche brands that already have an existing presence on Amazon. And so an example of that is this brand here, Irva. They're a brand of lawn and garden products. They were our very first brand direct account that we landed back beginning of 2019. And I would be willing to bet, I think there's 30 something people on this call. Nobody on this call has heard of Irva unless you're into like gardening and outdoor type products. But with that being said, back in 2019, when we first contacted Irva, the brand was doing 6 figures per month in revenue on Amazon, but they were completely unknown outside of their niche. And Irva was one of those brands that they had a good thing going on Amazon, they had momentum, but they didn't really have a lot of direction, and they were dealing with 15 unauthorized resellers. Someday their products were selling at $70, some days they're selling at 50, and they were just trying to herd cats, getting 15 people to follow their MAP policy, right? Their minimum advertised pricing policy. So we were able to go in. In fact, they were so I was living in Chicago at the time. Irva was located in Chicago. I cold called them. I built rapport with the number 2 person at the company. I was able to go into their plant, sit down with the owner, sit down with the number 2, show them a plan for how we can not only help them sell more on Amazon, but help them protect their brand as well, right? Get rid of these unauthorized sellers, touch up their listings, run effective advertising. We're not looking to piggyback on their existing sales. We're looking to increase the size of the pie here, right? And that's exactly what we did. We worked with them for multiple years. Unfortunately, the owner just did not want to put much effort into Amazon. So we parted ways with them about a year and a half ago, but there are, no exaggeration, tens of thousands of brands just like Irva in every conceivable category on Amazon where this is a legitimate approach. All right, so let's talk about the second option that I mentioned earlier, right? We've got brand direct, which we just went into. Now let's talk about purchasing through distribution. All right, so when it comes to purchasing brand name products at wholesale through distribution, it's a much lower barrier to entry. Distributors typically, for the most part, the only thing they care about is 2 things. How much money are you going to spend? How often are you going to spend it, right? So a lower barrier to entry, if you've got a decent size chunk of capital to spend, then you can get into just about any major distributor in just about any category. Now, most distributors will want you to fit inside like the box of the type of customer they're used to working with. So for example, if in my Amazon business, I mainly sell, let's say, grocery products, and I call up a distributor of, let's say, power tools, well, even if I have all the money in the world to spend, that distributor is probably going to shut me down because they're going to look at my business and say, well, okay, great that you have money, but you have money to spend, but you're not our typical type of customer. You sell groceries, right? So in my experience, if you're going to go the distribution route, if you're going to look to source a lot of your products from distributors, focus on a niche is a huge asset, right? Don't go looking to buy tools one week and then toothbrushes the next week and then pool supplies the week after that, right? There's an 8-figure business to be built in just tools or just pool supplies or just groceries, for example, right? Now, just like the brand direct model, buying through distribution is 100% relationship based. And really, the entire wholesale model is relationship based, and every other presenter here speaking, at the core, they're all businesses, all of their businesses are relationship based, right? I don't think this is news to anybody that has any sort of experience in the business world. But the stronger the relationship you have with your sales reps, with the owners of these companies, if they're somewhat of a smaller company, and with the colleagues of your sales reps as well, the more profitable business the more profitable your business is going to be and the more money you're going to make. So we've, just by developing our relationships with some of our top sales reps at our distributors, we'll get better terms. For example, going from no terms to net 60 is not unheard of when you've been doing business with a company for years. We'll get better pricing. We'll get preferential treatment on, let's say, a product that we usually buy from the supplier. They just got a shipment in. Well, instead of them putting that on the market or putting that on their website and letting anybody just buy it, they might come to us first and say, hey, Corey, we just got product XYZ in. I know you guys buy a lot of this product. You guys want first dibs, right? That is totally common practice and something that comes from having really strong relationships, particularly with your sales reps at these distributors. And I do firmly believe that buying through distribution is going to be the quickest way to scale an Amazon business because of that lower barrier to entry. However, the brand direct route is going to be the safest and arguably more profitable. So looking at the pros and cons of both model, if I had to give just a general prescription to somebody who's getting into wholesale for the first time, go the distribution route to start, get your feet wet, get some traction, buying and selling some products. And then as you build your knowledge of just how Amazon as a platform works, then you can pivot to going directly to some of these manufacturers, because these manufacturers want more than just the PO. They want you to help them grow, right? Which is an entirely separate skill set than just selling on Amazon. And so when buying from distributors, we're buying products like this, right? For example, this is a product that we bought last week, IB Guard. It's an abdominal supplement that I believe it might be a P&G brand or it's a Unilever brand. And again, the chances of me going directly to P&G to buy this product are virtually zero, right? They've got minimums of like full truckloads per week, and you can't be an e-commerce seller and all these other hoops you got to jump through. So my only choice if I want to buy this particular product is to buy it from a distributor. Same thing goes for this Ninja air fryer. This is a product that we sourced at a fantastic price at the ASD trade show, which takes place, it just took place in March. It's happening again in August in Las Vegas. So we met with one of our large consumer electronics distributors at the trade show. We sat down with them. We looked through some of the products they had available. One of them was this Ninja air fryer, which we got a large amount at a really good price. And again, we're just buying it wholesale. We're turning around and selling it retail, right? Because the chances of us buying directly from Ninja is slim, because they only work with very, very large customers if you were to buy directly from them. All right, so just a quick and dirty rundown. I think I'm running short on time here. I only had about 10 minutes. So to quickly give you guys the overview of how you find these brands in the first scenario, right? If you're going to go directly to the manufacturer, I like to use a tool called Smart Scout, which is, it's an Amazon SaaS tool. They have a feature called, it's literally just called Brands. And within the Brands feature, you can input different filters. Those filters can give you a very curated list of brands in a given category that meet a certain criteria, right? So that's how we do all of our initial research. And then it's as simple as finding the contact information for the brand, which usually just involves Googling the brand name, finding their website, calling them up, and following up as many times as it takes to get a foot in the door, right? Which, like I said, in the case of my best brand, took 3.5 years. And I have there at the bottom, the last bullet point, call 100 brands minimum. There's nothing that really annoys me more than people on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever, that say, well, I called 5 brands or I called 10 brands. They said no, and wholesale doesn't work. It's like, well, it does, because when I started, I was calling 20 to 30 brands per day for about 3 months before I landed that first profitable account. So it works. I promise you it works. So you're not allowed to say it doesn't until you've at least not just called, but spoken to 100 brands, because your pitch is going to be no good until you've given it at least 100 times, right? So that's what I like to tell people. Speak to 100 different brands, hone your pitch. It gets easier with time. This stuff really works. And when it comes to finding distributors, the advice that I gave earlier absolutely applies. You want to choose a niche, right? Now, you don't want to go so narrow that there's just not a lot of distributors out there. So for example, you don't want to go, as narrow as, let's say, plumbing parts for toilets, right? That's a super narrow niche, but plumbing as a niche is a fantastic niche. And there are hundreds, if not possibly thousands of B2B plumbing supply stores or plumbing product distributors out there. And that is a very unsexy niche, which if you follow me on social media, I preach all the time. The riches are in the niches, especially those unsexy niches in like the industrial and scientific category, tools and home improvement category, automotive category that other people just don't look at, right? I like to find 3 to 5 brands within that given niche and use that almost as like my shopping list, right? So I find 3 to 5 brands, let's just say within the plumbing niche, that are already selling well on Amazon. So that way when I find a distributor and I call them up, I know the exact brands I'm looking for. I say, yep, I'm Corey, I own a retail business. I'm looking for brand XYZ. That way they're going to take you a lot more seriously than if you were just calling them up saying, hey, I'm looking for, anything that's profitable, right? Which is a line that a lot of newer Amazon sellers use. And it's the quickest way for a supplier to know that you're an amateur is if you don't know what you're looking for. So find those 3 to 5 brands in that niche that are already selling well, reference them when you call distributors, and the chances of you getting a foot in the door are much higher. And it's as simple as calling them up and asking for a dealer account, which dealer is kind of like industry parlance for retailer, right? Again, using that terminology is going to let them know that you're serious, that you know what you're talking about, and that they should give you the time of day. All right, and this, I believe, is my last slide here. So people hate hearing this, but it's the truth, right? You want to commit for at least 2 to 5 years to this business. This is not a business where you jump in, you learn the business, you make a killing in 6 months, and then you're doing something else 6 months later, right? That's just not how it works. This is a business where it takes at least 1 to 2 years to even know what you're doing, right? I'm coming up on year 6 of wholesale, year 7 of Amazon, and I just now feel like I know what I'm doing, right? Maybe I'm a slow learner, but at the end of the day, you got to commit to the process, commit to the long term. This is something that takes time. These relationships take years to develop, right? Especially the best ones. And I got a line there that I heard from somebody. I don't know who I heard it from at all, so I can't give them credit, but it's like, listen, you don't meet many broke Amazon sellers who've been selling for over 2 years, right? Anybody that's been in this business for at least a couple of years, at the very least, is making good side income. A lot of them are probably doing it full time, and a lot of them probably know what they're doing after at least a couple of years. All right, so if you guys want any more just completely free info about this business model, like I said at the beginning of my presentation, I put out a ton of content. I spent a lot of time and resources producing content, mainly on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and then some on TikTok as well. I'm at Corey Ganim on all of those platforms, but Twitter is my most active platform by far, and I'm at Ganim Corey there. If anybody knows Elon Musk or has a connection, let me know, because some girl in Indiana that hasn't tweeted since 2012 has at Corey Ganim on Twitter. Would love to be able to get that handle from her. And I've also got the Amazon Wholesale Podcast, which I release new episodes every Wednesday, just interviewing other successful wholesale sellers. Today's episode was me interviewing a guy. He was a professional gamer turned Amazon wholesale seller. Now I think he's doing like $2 million a year in revenue, and he's only been doing it for like 2 years. So that's where you can find out more information about me, about this business model. My DMs are open. Ask me any questions that you'd like. And I know we're going to do a Q&A here towards the end. And and I know we've got other speakers, but one more point I'll add to that. What a lot of wholesale sellers do, because like you said, it's a lower margin business. It's more of a cash flow business. I'm not building an asset here, right? I'm not going to lie. So what a lot of sellers do is they take the cash flow from the wholesale business and they invest that into creating their own brand, right? And they use that kind of as a flywheel to launch their own brands, launch their own products on Amazon. And it can be a fantastic strategy for building out like a full-fledged retail business on multiple fronts.